Bring it on. Bring it on down.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Worth the Conversation right here with your boy Jeezy Jenkins. Yeah, you heard what I said. My guest tonight is medical expert to the masses. He's behind the 50 million pound challenge. He's also an author of several New York Times bestsellers, and he's helped millions of people on their path towards health and wellness. Please welcome the host of the hit TV show The Doctors and best-selling author, my guy, Dr. Ian Smith. Dr. Ian Smith, how you feeling, baby?
Great, man. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm glad to interview you.
Thank you for being here, man. I've been checking you out on IG. I see you getting your golf game up. Talk to me about it.
Well, you know, I played basketball all my life, and and I started playing golf towards the latter part of my college career, and I just loved the game. Wish I had started earlier, but you know, I didn't have the money to play golf. Black people didn't play golf when I was a kid.
Right.
But my game is strong. I play a lot. My best friend Michael Strahan, he and I are golf partners and competitors, so we do a lot of work on the course together.
That's dope. You know what's crazy? Actually, I just got myself a set of clubs, but it's crazy because I just almost feel like golf is one of those things when you come from just poverty, the hood, or any situation, you look at it as like when you play golf, you made it. And I used to ride by the golf courses and wonder what they was talking about out there, and why they took so much time, riding around in those golf carts. So it's like I feel like that's an accomplishment when you can go on a golf course and just take your time and just have some good conversations, do a little business out there, and it's like a statute thing. So it's just like when I got my set of clubs, I'm not good yet. I ain't ready for you and Michael, just so we clear. but I've been going to the driving range a little bit.
Well, let me tell you something. First of all, golf is a game you can play forever. It's
Right.
a game that takes patience, which I've learned through the years. But it's also one of those games where you will play 20 bad rounds just to get to one good hole where all the shots are smooth and you get to the green nicely. That experience and feeling you get from that one good hole will allow you to endure 20 bad rounds.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, for me, like I said, as a businessman, when I went out on the golf course and I saw how business got done, I was like, yo, I could do this, but I gotta get better at the game. So when I'm out here, like I haven't had I haven't had a good round yet, but the more holes, the worse for me. So just so you know. Talk to me about this solo host on The Doctors, man. Like tell me about it.
Yeah, I've been on TV for a long time, and I've never solo hosted a show before.
Okay.
I got a call from them, from the executive producer. I had co-hosted the show many years ago, but I had gotten a call from the executive producer, basically saying, "Hey, we're gonna blow up the show. We're getting rid of all the hosts. We want you to solo host." And I was a little taken aback by it because it just came out of the blue. I wasn't looking for a show or anything. They just called me. But one thing I was very emphatic about was that if I were to do this show, it was going to have to be a diverse show. It was going to have to be a show that just didn't have black patients and guests, but I wanted black experts to come on, black doctors and
Right.
lawyers to come on and talk, because I wanted all of us to be represented. So that was one of the stipulations I made before I took the gig.
That's what's up. So basically, you was able to make that call because of the position you was in. So it wasn't like that at first.
No, and I'm just gonna keep it real with you. I've been lucky enough in my career to have been on the biggest shows, and shows call me all the time to come on as an expert and talk about health and wellness and weight loss particularly. But I've always said, I'm not the only great expert who's African American. There are other great African American doctors who never get to go on the shows. And so even though I got through the bottleneck, I always felt like, well, why don't you have more black doctors and experts on the show, on these big shows, giving advice? I'm not the only one, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so for me, it was very important to change that landscape.
Yeah, I feel like that's what being a pioneer is all about, like just pushing the envelope and putting yourself in a position to open up the doors for a lot of other guys that are, or other people that's from our culture. I got one of my good friends. He's a chiropractor, and I never, I was, I'm one of those type of people. I don't like people twisting and, turning me anyway. And he was just like, won't you, let me come through and, and align you. And he a young brother. And he came through and he aligned me. And I just remember getting up and I just felt like new money. And I started telling other people. And I watched his business just gradually grow. And his whole thing was he had so many other young black chiropractors that he was trying to put on. And that's actually working out for him. So I commend you guys for just reaching back and still, not forgetting where you came from and what you had to go through and opening doors for other people in your profession. I think that's admirable.
Well, Jeezy, let me say this. The past summer, we're in a really reflective moment for our country, particularly as it relates to race relations. And the past summer was focused on police brutality. But that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
Institutional racism is not just in law enforcement. It's in medicine, in hospitals, in educations, in law firms. It's all over the place. It's in Hollywood. And so my whole thing is at my age and the career I've had, at what point do you say, I'm going to speak up about these injustices? And I decided in my own career, and I've been very apolitical publicly. People don't really know my politics publicly because my job is to help people. I'm a transform agent. I transform people. But that being said, I'm also an African-American man who's grown up in a very racist society for a long time. And if I don't say something, then who's going to say something?
Right.
So, I talked to my family and just said, listen, I got to speak up like everybody else. I just can't say let them handle it and let them talk about it. I got to talk about it too, even if it pisses off some of my fans and followers. Then if you're a fan and follower of mine and you don't like me speaking truth about what my situation has been and my people's situation, then I don't want you as a fan or a follower.
Right. No, I feel you on that. I mean, when you think about growth, just even my humble beginnings where I came from, I just never understood why us as a culture we think you should just stay the same. And then when you go and you try to push the envelope and open up doors and it might not be politically correct, then people look at you like they don't rock with you no more. And that's confusing to me because it's just like, if I'm gonna be in this position, why am I not gonna reach back and open up the door for somebody else? Or if my voice is valuable, why wouldn't I speak on things that I feel passionate about, that I stand for because of your opinion? And then you say you don't like me as you're not a fan anymore because I'm standing for something. But that's the whole purpose. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing, right? And,
Right.
I love LeBron James beyond athletically, but I love that LeBron has been a leader.
Right.
And taking a stance.
Right.
And saying uncomfortable things to people of power very directly, without any fear, without any mincing of words. He speaks straight at you. And it's been a long time coming, and I applaud him and others, of course, who have done it. But I just feel as though that you and I, those of us who've been fortunate and blessed enough to be successful, we got to help our brothers and sisters who have never been given the chance.
Got to do it. No, I totally agree. And I watched LeBron go through that transition as well because he got it off the court. I remember it was a time where there was like, LeBron ain't a team player. LeBron ain't, he's for himself. And I watched that whole transition, man. He just became a leader and he took it from the court and he took it to the world. And I definitely respect him for that. So talk to me about, so I just got my vaccine shots. I'm double vaccinated. I feel invincible out here. But like, I just remember telling my aunts and uncles I got my vaccine and they like, baby, I wouldn't do that. The government out here, they tracking you with these with these shots. And I mean, culturally, what is with us when it comes to things such as vaccines and shots and just this conspiracy theory?
Well, let me be really honest with you. When you look at the history of African Americans and the healthcare establishment, it's not a good history. It goes back to the Tuskegee syphilis experiment back in the 1930s, and people have heard of Tuskegee. Let me really real fast break it down. Basically, in 1932, the government researchers wanted to find out how syphilis, the venereal disease, how syphilis progressed in human beings. And they wanted to see, could medications work against it? What were the effects of syphilis? And so basically, they had all these African American men who they had syphilis. They didn't tell them that they had syphilis. And then in the early 40s, as they're following these men, and when the government researchers realized that penicillin, that there actually was a cure for it, a treatment for it, they didn't give it to the men. They let the men continue with syphilis. They blind, heart disease, organ failure, death.
Wow.
So they wanted to see the ravages of this disease in real time in humans.
Right.
So when you look at that history, and other cases, by the way, when you look at that history, I understand why African Americans say, I don't trust the government when it comes to my health. I don't trust the healthcare establishment. So let me be the first one to say I am sensitive to that. That being said, I can assure you with every bone and an ounce of intelligence in my brain that this is a different scenario, okay?
Right.
This vaccine is not one that you can segregate and give certain mixture to black people, certain mixture to white people. You can't put a chip in the vaccine.
You got to give it to everybody.
No, all these things I've been hearing,
Right.
I understand why they're saying that, but think about this, Jeezy. If we as African Americans who are dying 3 times more from COVID,
Right.
don't take a vaccine that has been shown to be life-saving, think how many more of us will die.
Right.
And so I wonder whether or not people who actually have other agendas who don't want us to get the vaccine are feeding this misinformation so that we sit there and say, I ain't gonna get that vaccine. They're gonna track me and follow me, or they're gonna try to kill me. I wonder who really is behind all that.
We sitting here talking to my guy, Dr. Ian Smith. He dropping them gems right now. He got me feeling like, I need to get the word on these vaccination shots. So we're gonna get back to it. We got a lot to unpack right here, brother. I love it. Right here on Worth the Conversation. Y'all stay live. Welcome back to Worth the Conversation. I'm sitting here chopping it up with my guy, Dr. Ian Smith, the host of Doctors, right here on Worth the Conversation. It just like you hear so many things. So you hear so many things about the first shot, and then the second shot is supposed to make you feel sick. And my sister, she's a nurse, and she was like, "Yo, bro, just take some Tylenol and you'll be okay." And I was, and now I don't know what that means, because after taking the vaccine, I'm like, okay, I didn't get the information. So now, do I still walk around with a mask? Can I still spread it if I get it? Can I even get it? And those are the type of questions that I think need to be answered so people will understand why they're getting the vaccine and what happens after the fact.
This is one of the problems, Jeezy, is that the communication has been not great.
Right.
First of all, from experts to the lay people. The other problem also is that the situation is dynamic, it's fluid. We're constantly, even as experts, we're learning new things. It changes one day to the next. So there's a lot of fluidity in the situation, but let me tell you where we are now. First of all, when you get vaccinated, Pfizer and Moderna are 94 to 95% protected. That still means that there is a small percentage that you could get infected and become sick with the virus.
Right.
Johnson & Johnson is about 62 to 72% depending. The other part of it is this. People have to understand that even if you're fully vaccinated, that you still may be able to carry the virus in your body and transmit it to others. So while you may not get sick, you can transmit it to someone else who's not vaccinated and they may get sick, which is why we're saying still wear your mask, still separate, still be careful of respiratory droplets that are in the air. Now, if you're around somebody else who's also fully vaccinated, then the whole game changes. You don't really have to wear a mask, you don't have to be socially distanced, different situations. But if you're going to an airport, you're going out to restaurants and public spaces, definitely wear your mask. I also want to explain this whole issue about the variants, okay? People hear the word variant. A variant means that it is a modification or a little change in the original virus.
Okay.
When viruses replicate in normal viruses, flu virus, any virus, when viruses replicate, sometimes the genetic code changes just a little bit. Like when you give birth. When you give birth, it may just a little change. Maybe the toes are a little longer or the ear is a little shorter. Whatever it is, there are genetic changes that happen. That's normal in viruses. Here's the problem though. The problem is if you allow the virus to replicate or reproduce over and over and over again, sooner or later, those genetic mutations that are happening create a brand new strain basically that's no longer covered by the vaccine. Right?
Wow.
You build a vaccine for a certain, imagine this is the virus, and I build my vaccine to fit very nicely. well, what happens if all of a sudden it's like this? Well, it's not fitting right.
Right.
The vaccine's not fitting right. This is a variant now. And so we're in a race against the clock because the more the virus replicates in people, the more the chance we'll get these variants, and the less a chance our vaccine is going to work against it. And then we got to reformulate, and people got to take another shot.
And start all over again?
Yeah, a booster shot. Yep, all over.
So basically now we're in a place where if most of the population don't get vaccinated, then this cycle can repeat itself.
This is what I've been saying on my Instagram page. On Instagram, and please follow me at Dr. Ian Smith, spell the doctor. I have a video where I explain the vaccine. Yes, what happens is if 65% of the country gets the vaccine, 35% says, I don't want that vaccine, you ain't putting that near me, okay, fine. But if they get infected and that virus starts mutating inside of those people, eventually a strain is going to be created that the rest of us are now vulnerable because our vaccines aren't going to work anymore.
Wow, that's deep. And here my auntie telling me she don't want to take it because the government going to track her.
And by the way, Jeezy, let me tell you something. In all of my life, there are very few times, 9/11 was another one, by the way, where I said, as a country, we are in this together.
Right.
No matter what your race is,
Right.
no matter how
Right.
rich you are,
Right.
poor you are, we're all linked because what I do actually affects you.
Correct.
And vice versa, and your
Right.
family. This isn't one of those situations where I got my rights not to wear a mask and, you know, people lining up on state steps, the state house steps with machine guns talking about,
Right.
you know, I have a right not to wear a mask. We're not in that situation.
Right.
Because you not wearing a mask and you getting infected in Michigan and that virus replicating and mutating, and then all of a sudden someone catches it from you and they get on the plane and they come to
Right.
Chicago,
Right.
and I'm in a restaurant,
Right.
and now I see that variant and my vaccine doesn't protect it, now I'm in trouble.
Right. It's almost like you got to have humility. You got to look out for one another because that's the only thing. And it's crazy because I have these visions, and I always knew it was going to be something that would affect the whole world. And you're absolutely right. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, tall or short, black or white, green or yellow. It affects us all the same. So I would definitely suggest that if you haven't got vaccinated, you should. And that's good to know, Doc. So make sure y'all follow Doc and check that out. I got to go to break, but when I come back, we're breaking down the D word right here with Dr. Ian. We're talking about diet, so don't go anywhere. Y'all keep it locked right here. Worth the conversation. Come back to Worth the Conversation. I'm talking medicine and much more with Dr. Ian Smith. Let's talk about black women in particular that go to these hospitals and they're not taken seriously. What is that about?
Man.
I mean, it's a real, and I read a story about a young lady that was pregnant and she was given labor and they didn't even want to see her.
Not only that, there's a story of a black doctor, a female doctor. She's a doctor.
Right.
And she told them, I know I have COVID.
Okay.
And they ignored her, they didn't treat her. She went home and she died.
Wow.
Listen, as we said earlier in the program, there is a long history, and I said about institutional racism is in every sector of our society. It's also in medicine.
Wow.
The idea that African Americans don't get the best medications, the idea that we are ignored and dismissed, the idea that they just kind of treat us like, you know, do what I said, I'm not going to explain to you, just do what I say, and you know, it's just the relationship between the healthcare establishment and African Americans is horrific. And by the way, Jeezy, that's another reason why we need more black doctors.
Right.
So, you know, there's this campaign called More Black Doctors, and it's not that white doctors cannot treat black patients. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that studies and research has shown that African American patients that are treated by African American doctors fare better, their conditions improve better, and they have a better interaction and experience with the healthcare system. But this has to change. This is unacceptable. It's just unacceptable.
Right. It's crazy because when you say that, I had somebody that told me a good friend of mine said that they got treated and they was getting treated for thyroids, and that wasn't even a problem because they went to a doctor who just assessed them as that, and it was something much more deeper. But you're right. You know, at the end of the day, like we need, and then when you think about these urgent care centers and all these things in our neighborhood, you're right. We do need people that understand, you know, what we go through as a people, and they can look and assess us, and tend to us the way that we need to be tend to.
And also understand how we talk. Like, you know, we can say things a certain way,
right,
and it really means something else,
right.
And unless you've grown up, you know, with older, you know, relatives, with some of these expressions that we say,
right,
that my grandfather and grandmother would say.
Right.
Well, I know what they're saying, but, you know, a doctor who's not culturally sensitive, he has no idea what they're saying,
right.
and so he can't build that rapport,
right,
of trust and understanding, and so it's important.
Like my grandmother, she said, everything, you can fix everything with Vicks Vapor Rub. Doc, what's the, well, let me say this first. Like for me, I remember being probably about like my third album, and I remember seeing myself on TV, and I just couldn't believe, you know, how much Waffle House and Cristal had made me gain weight. Like I was, you know, I was wearing a 4X shirt and a 42 pants, and I'm 5'8", and I was almost 240, 50 pounds.
Wow.
And I just remember looking at and it's crazy because I didn't drink water for years. I mean, I didn't drink water. I would wake up, drink champagne, eat Waffle House all day, sleep all day, party all night. And I just looked at myself on TV one day and I just saw my skin, and something just didn't sit right with me. And I just couldn't understand like what I was doing wrong. So I started like researching, you know, like why, because I would do things like I would go on a diet, and then I would like, you know, eat chicken, but not fried chicken, but then I eat a whole thing of rice. Or I would go on a diet where I would like try to eat a salad, but then I was still drinking sodas. You know what I mean? So, and I just had to get this formula right for myself, and I didn't, you know, I had a lot of pride, so I didn't want to get in with a trainer because I didn't want to be in the gym and somebody got Jeezy doing push-ups at the time. You know what I'm saying? So I just took it up on myself, and I just started really researching and reading books, and got in the gym and really got myself together, and I lost 60 pounds on my own, and it was real because let me tell you the difference now. So before we get into this, when I was doing my shows in the beginning, you know, it used to be all the G's, all the street guys in the front row. You know, we love you, G's, we love you. When I dropped them 60 pounds, it swapped out. It was all the ladies. They were starting to throw bras and stuff on stage. And I'm like, yo, I like this, you know what I mean? And I would see myself in pictures and I would like my skin and, you know, my eyes were clear. And my whole thing on dieting is like, when you go to our community, you talk about dieting, it's so hard because, you know, people look at it as a task, but you really have to take care of yourself, and you want to be, especially with fellas, you know, people from our culture dropping off like flies because they're not taking care of themselves. So I just want to ask you, like, what's the biggest misconception on dieting?
Well, first of all, let me say, I love that you had that watershed moment where you saw yourself and you said something's got to change. Unfortunately, for a lot of us, people don't have that moment. And so they don't have that motivational situation where they say, I got to make a difference. So it's good that you had that moment.
For sure.
The other thing I want to say is I saw on your IG your before and after, your transformation.
Right.
And, you know, this has been my career for a long time. And so even now, after all these years and writing all my books, I'm still inspired when people like you actually, that light bulb, you know, turns and brightens up and you go through that transformation. So I was looking at your page, just like, wow, this is ridiculous. By the way, the other thing ridiculous about your page is that you have like 38 posts and 4.8 million followers. So I don't know how you,
right.
You know, you got so many followers you don't even post. But anyway, that's the power of Jeezy. But it's interesting. One of the biggest misconceptions or perceptions about weight loss is people think that it needs to be difficult.
Right.
And that they have to give up everything. And when I write my books and my plans, the first thing I say to people is, number one, I will never ask you to be perfect because I'm not perfect.
That's right.
Number two, you are not gonna just eat the healthiest of foods because life is too short to be worried about always eating the best and healthiest foods. You're gonna have what I call fun foods. I don't call them cheat foods because cheat has a connotation that you're doing something bad.
Right.
But you're gonna have fun foods on a program. Programs that are either too expensive, or they ask people to do too many extreme things, or they ask them to eliminate everything. Those programs are not sustainable. Yeah, you could stick to it for a week or two,
right,
but you're not gonna stay on a program if every day you wake up saying, man, I'm not gonna be able to have this, I'm not gonna have that, or I have to have this. So all my programs are about choice. You know, it's about giving people the feeling and the real options to be able to make some choices so you have some ownership. You even said yourself, you said, I did my research and I looked at what I should be eating and not eating.
Right.
Most people don't do that.
Right.
Most people will say, wow, Beyonce followed this diet,
right,
so I'm gonna follow that diet.
Right.
But guess what?
Right.
That diet worked for Beyonce doesn't mean it's the right diet for you.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
There are a lot of different plans out there, and so I always counsel people and say the first thing you need to do is choose the right plan, and the second thing you need to do is realize you're not going to be perfect.
Right.
I mean, how long did it take for you to lose all that weight?
I mean, it took about 6 months, but also too, I had to learn things about my blood type, my nutrition, what worked for me, because there was a lot of things that I was eating that didn't work with my body, and it was like, you know, I was eating like, you know, like I had went, you know, pescatarian, and come to find out, like, chicken was the best thing for me, like chicken breast, you know, because it was clean, had protein, and it was just like things that I would learn. But when people saw the results, it was like, you know, like, damn, you know what I mean? It's for me, you know, when you think about the business we in, your health is your wealth.
That's right.
You know, if the better you look, the better you feel, the more you're able to get done, and the more people want to deal with you and partner with you on things. And I actually got into it was so crazy. Like, I partnered with a water company to become an owner because I started drinking the water, and that's what helped me. It's called Defiance Fuel, and it's an athletic water for athletes. But at the same time, like, my body, like, I would feel, when I would get up in the morning, I had more energy. You know, I was able to do more things during the day because I was hydrated. And there was times that I didn't even know I would wake up and I'm like, I need to drink something. I'm going to the refrigerator and get whatever's in there, thinking I'm hydrating myself, because you don't know. And then also eating, it's just like, you know, if you don't know that, like, you shouldn't eat, you know, after 8, 9 p.m., you know, you might be eating well, but if you eating at 11, 12, and then you going to sleep on it, and it's just certain things like that, you know what I mean? And it's like, once you kind of get you a formula and you see the results, you just want to do more.
Well, so you just mentioned, man, you mentioned so much good stuff in there, just basics, which is hydration.
Right.
Most people are dehydrated and don't even know it.
Right.
I mean, the average person needs to consume about 6 to 8 cups of water a day. And let me explain to you why. 70% of our body is actually water.
Right.
70% is water. And what happens is throughout the day, we lose water every minute of the day. Either we're urinating, we're doing number 2, we are breathing, we lose water, we're sweating. We lose water all the time. And so you got to replace the water that you're losing, which is why we need to drink water. So people are walking around dehydrated and don't even realize it, because people think you only get dehydrated by working out and dripping in sweat. That's not true.
Right.
No, number 2, people have to understand that you respond to different foods. Some people are good with fish, some people are not good with fish. Some are good with chicken, some are not. I'm not talking about food taste, I mean how your body responds to it. And this is why I tell people, you want to choose a plan that gives you options. You know, these plans that say you can't have a whole, you know, category of food, those plans are unrealistic. You can't eat that way for a long time.
Right.
You said it took you 6 months to lose your weight.
Right.
Jeezy, people come to me, they want to lose it in 30 days.
Right.
Weight loss is a marathon. It's not a sprint.
Right. And also too, what kept me motivated, I was chilling with one of my guys, and he was really, you know, he's really healthy, and we went out one day, and he was just like, yo, he just ordering all this ice cream and eating all that. I was like, yo, what you doing? He was like, today's my cheat day. I was like, oh, so you can have a cheat day, and that was my thing. So I work, you know, throughout the week, and on Sundays I'm gonna live my life, you know, and I look forward to that. It's like if I stay down all week, And on Sunday, I can, you know, splurge and do whatever I want to do. And that's like my fun day, so to speak. But the thing I think that, you know, especially when I moved out to LA, I noticed like health is a big thing out there, but it's expensive to eat healthy, and it's expensive to be a vegan, and it's expensive to be a pescatarian. Like, what advice would you give for people who don't have the budget to be healthy?
So I've heard this for forever, how expensive it is to eat healthy. And here's the good news. The good news is that a lot of regular grocery stores have actually brought organic foods into grocery stores. They've brought cleaner foods into grocery stores, because even people who don't have a lot of money, they want to be healthy too. And finally, grocery stores that service inner city communities in particular, finally, they're bringing in manufacturers where the price points are affordable. That's number one. Number two, I tell people all the time, buy in bulk. Like when you go, you get a bigger bang for your buck by buying in bulk, rather than like my aunt, unfortunately, calling her out, she goes to the store almost every other day.
Right.
You know, you can't shop that way. That's too expensive. You got to buy stuff in bulk, and so you can get more bang for your dollar.
I gotta take another break. When I come back, we're gonna talk to the doctor about his new book, Fast Burn. So y'all keep it locked right here. To worth the conversation, I'm talking with my guy, Dr. Ian Smith, about his book, Fast Burn, and much more. Right here, worth the conversation.
My new book, Fast Burn, okay, it's a 9-week program. Every week on the program is different, but I spell out every day for you. So look at your plans and think about what your week looks like, right? People don't do that. People instead go day to day, and then they wake up like, well, what am I gonna do today? Oh, I'm gonna go shopping for this. Next day, go get that. But if you think about what your week looks like in advance, then you go to the store, then you're making smarter, you know, purchasing decisions, and it becomes more affordable and doable, by the way.
Right. No, and I second that, because I feel, and also that's a good way to get the family involved as well, because I feel like, you know, just as a culture, you know, we have to teach our kids and our siblings, you know, ways to eat healthy, because when you see that people don't, because, you know, growing up, you know, my grandma fried chicken, pork chops, you know, macaroni, this every day. You know what I mean? So it's just like, and you think that's normal, which is cool, but it's just like, you know, once you start understanding, like, you eating these greases and you're putting all these things into your body, because it's just like, I didn't understand how to count calories, and that you can get calories from just drinking things. Because sometimes you think that, you know, if you eat clean and you can drink whatever, you're drinking juice, and there's really nothing healthy in the juice. You're just actually just drinking, you know, sugar. You know,
so this is what I'm gonna say. Even now, I grew up like you. I grew up eating fried pork chops, thin cut, bone in. Listen, I get it, right?
Spare ribs.
That's right. But Jeezy, I still eat those foods. I still do.
Okay.
I just don't eat them 3 or 4 times a week like I used to as a kid.
Correct.
Right? Instead, I have my salmon, I have my grilled chicken.
Right.
I have all my other things, whole wheat pasta, which is I love, but I do it in moderation. And that's why I try to teach people in my programs, I can get you to lose weight without throwing everything you enjoy away, but you got to meet me halfway. You can't sit there and say to me, I need to lose weight, but then you don't want to change what you're eating. Otherwise, if that was working for you, you wouldn't be in the problem you're right now.
Absolutely. And I had a wise man tell me, you know, during this pandemic, we're either gonna come out of this bitter or better. And you know, I've heard a lot about this COVID-15, and in your book Fast Burn, you know, you just talk about dealing with that. Let's talk about this COVID-15 and how do you deal with that.
Listen, first of all, I understand why people gain a lot of weight during COVID. This has been an unbelievable year and some change for all of us, and it's been very difficult. On my Instagram, I try to put up little things people can do around the house to try to combat the tendencies you're developing during COVID. Little mini workouts, 7-minute workouts. I mean, you work out, but even just doing a 7 or 10-minute workout twice a day, a little bit in the morning, a little bit at night. No machines, full body workouts, those things help. Here's the other part. This is one of the few times in our lifetime that most of us are gonna be home for a long period of time. Which means this is the best time to control your food environment. So what you put in your cabinets, in refrigerator, you're in control of it. So if you shouldn't have it, don't bring it into your house. It kills me if people say, well, you know, I have a thing for this, and they load up their cabinet, well, what do you think you're going to do?
Right.
You're going to go get it when you're stressed out
Right.
or it's late at night, you know? The other thing you mentioned, you actually were talking about intermittent fasting, by the way, when you said don't eat a certain time before going to bed. You're really doing a form of what's called intermittent fasting. And so in my book, I have some intermittent fasting. The average weight loss, by the way, is 15 to 17 pounds in 9 weeks. That's a lot of weight. But here's the deal. People are losing that weight, but they're doing it by still eating. They're not going hungry.
Right.
They're eating, 3 snacks, 3 meals a day. They're not working out an hour a day. It's all about doing things in moderation that's approachable and accessible to everybody.
So when you say 3 meals, is that 3 full meals or is that 3?
Yeah, so intermittent fasting basically says you're going to choose a time of the day called your feeding window where you're going to eat all your meals and snacks, and then you're going to choose a time of the day of your fasting window. So imagine this. Take 24 hours, and let's say you do a 12-12. That means you're going to eat for 12 hours and fast for 12 hours.
Okay.
Well, that's easy. Let's say you start eating at 8 o'clock in the morning. So you'll eat all your meals and snacks from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. That's 12 hours. That's a 12-hour feeding window.
Right.
Then from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. you fast.
Right.
No solid food, but you can drink liquids as long as it doesn't exceed 50 calories.
Right.
That's intermittent fasting right there.
That's clean. So
Right?
tell me what's the difference between good fat versus bad fat?
Good. By the way, we need fat, just so you know that. Fat is not all bad. We actually need fat. Fat insulates us, it protects us. Our membranes and our cells, they need fat. So when people say fat is the enemy, no, fat's not the enemy. The bad fats are the enemy. So things like trans fats, when you say Trans, trans fats. Never eat anything that says trans fats on the label. In fact, now companies are saying 0 trans fats to let you know it's not in there.
Tell me what product, one product or meal that will have trans fat in it. So
processed cookies. You go to the gas station and you go in there and buy the package of cookies or cupcakes or danishes.
Okay.
They all have trans fats in them.
Okay.
The other name, Jeezy, for trans fats, by the way, is something called hydrogenated oils, or it's called partially hydrogenated oils. And that's the manufacturer's trick for not having to put trans fats, but they're all the same thing. But they trick you because you don't, that's a big word, hydrogenated oil. You don't know what that is. It's a trans fat.
Okay.
So pastries and cookies and stuff, those things typically have it. The other thing I want to say is this. What people have to understand is good fats are the unsaturated fats, the monounsaturated fats, the polyunsaturated fats. So unsaturated good, saturated bad. And in my book, I give you all different types of examples of where to get good fats and what are the bad fats to avoid. But it's not as hard as people think. Right,
I love it. So the power of negative energy balance, how does the book explore that?
So when you were losing weight, Jeezy, the big reason why you lost weight and the reason why you burned your fat was because you put your body in what's called negative energy balance. And let me explain to you.
Okay.
Food has calories, and those calories are a form of energy. It's like fuel from a gas station, okay? When we eat food, that's our fuel. If you don't burn it off, same with your car. If you fill your car's tank up with gas and you only drive 1 mile, what's gonna happen to all the gas you just filled up in your tank? What's it gonna do?
It's gonna store. It's gonna stay there.
It's gonna store. It's gonna sit there. Until you use it.
Right.
In the body, when you eat all these calories in your food and you don't burn them off by moving around or exercising, what's the body gonna do? It's gonna store it. And it stores it as fat. Fat is a storage form of energy, okay? Now, this is what happens. Let's say you don't eat for a couple of days or you eat very little for a couple of days and your body needs energy, but you're not getting food. Guess where your body gets it from?
The fat.
Your fat.
Right.
Your body will break down the fat and convert it into fuel, and then you can do everything you want to do. And that's why bears, before they hibernate in the winter, they gorge on food. They're building up their blubber, their fat, because during the winter it's hard for them to find prey.
Right.
And so during the winter they live because slowly their body releases that fat and uses it for energy. So negative energy balance means the energy that you are putting in is less than the energy you are taking out.
Right.
Calories in, less than calories out. That's negative energy balance.
Right. Tell me the importance of mental and emotional balance when you're doing this.
My goodness. It all starts up here.
Okay.
You know that from your career.
Right.
It all starts
Mindset.
between the ears and above the neck.
Mindset.
So many people do not have their head in the right place before they start a diet program. You started your diet program because you looked at your picture and was like, this ain't right. Something's got to change. So your mind's in the game. Whereas other people start diet programs because it's January 1st, because they're going on a trip to Jamaica,
right.
So their motivation is not going to carry them through. Your motivation was like, I got to do better for myself physically. This isn't working.
Right.
And so when you get your mind in the right place, your body is going to follow. But sometimes, and this is the real truth, sometimes people just aren't ready to change, and that's okay. The biggest mistake people make is they try a new diet when they're not ready for it.
Right.
Wait until you're ready.
Right.
Then you are open to the change and more successful. If you're not open-minded about what you're getting ready to do, you're not going to be successful.
So it starts with mindset.
Number one place.
Right. And that's but you know what's crazy? That's with anything in life. Even with success and even with getting that new job and even with getting that new position, it all starts with mindset. Time to take another break, but when I come back, I'm gonna get into Dr. Ian's business a bit more, so y'all stay right here. I'm back to Worth the Conversation. We chopping it up. Let's get into it. What's a typical day like with the fast burn plan? Like, tell me about it. I'm new to this. I'm new to this.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. What am I looking forward to?
You start with breakfast. It could be eggs. It could be cereal. Some days it could be pancakes, believe it or not.
Really? Hold up. Is that keto pancakes or that real pancakes?
Real pancakes.
Okay, tell me about this. I'm interested.
Yeah, I'm not a keto guy, so my stuff is just real stuff.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Okay, so I have a recipe called my grandmother's pancakes.
Okay.
A little twist. I made them a little healthier, but they still taste like regular pancakes.
Okay.
But so that's your breakfast, right? Or you could have a smoothie or a shake if you're on the run. Then you have a snack a couple hours later, about 100, 150 calorie snack. Then you have lunch. You can have a turkey sandwich. You can have a salad with shrimp on it or turkey on it. Big salad. You can have soup. We got recipes for soup in the book. But you have a nice, hearty lunch. Then you have another snack after lunch. Then you have dinner. Now dinner, I tend to say more vegetables. You can have chicken. You can have fish. There's some recipes for some steak because I like steak every once in a while.
Okay.
And so you have your dinner. And if you're hungry before you go to bed, you can have a snack that's 100 calories or less, and then you go to bed. But you can't eat within 2 hours of going to sleep, just like you said.
Right.
In my book, no eating 2 hours before you go to sleep. And it's a full meal. Listen, some people have complained it's too much food, actually.
Right.
They'll say, I can't eat all this food.
So what level of exercise do we do on this plan? Like before I got here today, I went to the gym, I did some cardio, I did some tries and buys. And for me, that 1 or 2 hours I get in the gym, like that's my sanctuary. Like I just go and I clear my mind. I either listen to a podcast, I listen to some music, depending on how I feel. But that's like my time. So like when I'm on this plan, like what level of exercise am I doing?
Well, first of all, I wish people would approach exercise from a different mindset. So many people look at it as it's going to be torture, it's going to be a chore, and instead of embracing it, they do this to it. And so when they do it, they kind of approach. I was telling my son, my teenage son, I got him working out now, right? He's a big tennis player. And I said, listen, don't come down to the gym with a bad attitude.
Right. Right.
Come down to the gym saying, I'm going to work on something. Every time I'm down here, I'm going to get better. I'm going to get stronger and faster. But also, it's a time to relax, to be alone, either with your thoughts or, like you said, some good music or a podcast. So first of all, people need to approach exercise from a positive standpoint. In the book, 30 minutes or less, 3 or 4 days a week is more than enough. And if you want to, Jeezy, break it up. You could do 15 minutes in the morning, 15 at night. But you don't need as much exercise as people tend to think you need in order to be successful in weight loss. You just got to be consistent.
Right, because it's not like you're trying to be a bodybuilder. You just want to be healthy.
Want to be healthy, right? Walk outside for 1.5 miles.
You hear that, people?
Things like that make a difference.
15 minutes. There's no excuses. There's none. So, Doc, like, I see, of course, it's a trend. Everybody, and myself, I like to work hard for what I get. But then I also understand that there's people who have the means to go out and actually get surgeries and have things done. Like, what's your take on like fast fixes, like tummy teas, waist trainers, cleanses, and all these different things?
I think people have to have an honest conversation about what their real goal is.
Right.
If your goal is that you want to improve your health, your blood pressure, your cholesterol levels, not become a diabetic, and you want to look good, the fast fixes are not going to get you there. My father used to always say, there's no shortcuts in life that work out. And so what I want to say to people is this. If you lose weight, like you lost 60 pounds, that's a lot of weight, by the way.
Right.
Some people losing that amount of weight, their skin's going to sag.
Right.
And so you're going to need a procedure to help tighten that skin up, maybe do some ab work, some love handles. That's completely fine. I'm fine with that. But people who think that medical procedures are a way to actually lose the weight, that's not how it works. So, if you're trying to get into a dress and you want to do a little tuck here and tuck there, I'm not against that.
Right.
But that by no means is a way to lose weight. You still got to lose weight the old-fashioned way, which is eat better, move better, lose the weight, and then if you want to do the cosmetic stuff to kind of look a little better or make things tight, no problem with that whatsoever.
And it's crazy because, going back to mindset, it's like if you do take a shortcut, that's something harder to maintain.
Some doctors will even tell patients, I am not going to perform a procedure on you until you demonstrate that you are willing to make behavioral changes for long-term success. So you got to show me that you can lose some weight. You got to show me that you're exercising. They actually say to patients, I won't cut you or do anything until you show me that you're going to make these changes. That's the right approach to it. You see, people who want the fast fixes only, eventually that's going to wear away. Those fixes are not permanent, right? And then what are you going to do? You want to keep going, every few years under the knife? I mean, that's not what I would want to do.
And real quick, like mentally, you're still not there because it's like my uncle used to tell me, he's like, nephew, I see you love them nice cars and you love them nice clothes, but just know if you don't have your mental right, you're the same person in them nice cars and them nice clothes. Your mental is still there. So mentally, if you ain't put the work in, you're still in the same place. So it's not gonna do anything for your self-esteem or you personally. It's just a look. It's like having a good-looking house on the outside, but on the inside is torn up. It's the same thing.
A book I've always wanted to write and I'm working on because I'm a sports guy. I played sports my whole life. I'm an avid sportsman. Is about the mental, because in the world of sports, the mental game in sports is so applicable to the broader spectrum of life. People don't understand the importance of developing mental acuity, mental focus, mental strength. They hear the word mental, but they don't realize that there's something really there about it, because your mind is the first thing that leads. Your body follows where your mind goes. And so I want to help people develop that mental strength,
And you talking about books, Doc. I mean, like, I don't know if to call you an author or a doctor, like a little bit of both. You write fiction and non-fiction books now. Like, tell me which one you enjoy most.
Well, I like writing both fiction and non-fiction. I write mysteries, by the way. And so I just wrote this book called The Unspoken that just got optioned to become a TV show.
Nice.
So we're working on selling that to one of the streaming services. But fiction satisfies my creativity. I can create, like you, you're an artist. So you can create, from a blank page, a whole world in a song. And I do that with novels. I create a whole world and a story, and I take you on it, and so I love doing that creatively. From a standpoint of changing people's lives, my nonfiction, my health books, I meet people in airports and all over the country who say, my goodness, you helped me lose 30 pounds. I got off my diabetes medication. So they both are equally rewarding. One's left brain, one's right brain, but I just do it both. I just love it.
So Unspoken is about Chicago. What's your connection with Chicago?
Yeah, so I live in Chicago, and The Unspoken, real fast, is about a former Chicago detective, African-American detective, who left the force because he wouldn't participate in a bad shooting cover-up by the police department. He leaves, he gets a settlement to leave, and then he becomes a private investigator in the city. And so he takes on very few cases in and around the city that goes to the tough streets of Inglewood, all the way to the wealthy enclaves in the North Shore. So Chicago's a character in the book. It's a lot of fun. His name is Ash Kane.
Nice. That's dope, man. So if you wasn't a doctor, Doc, what would you be doing right now?
Oh, there's no doubt I'd be writing novels full time.
For sure.
I try to act a little bit.
Okay.
And I'd like to play guitar in the band.
Okay. Okay. I like it. How can people get access to your book, Fast Burn? Like, what do you get at?
Fast Burn's everywhere.
Okay.
Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Target, order online.
Okay.
Hit me up on Instagram, once again, at Dr. Ian Smith. Spell the doctor out, I-A-N Smith. But the book is going to be everywhere.
I mean, everybody, make sure y'all go online wherever books are sold. Grab my guys' books, all of them, by the way. I mean, you know, I'm proud of you, brother, and we'll keep supporting on our end. And I'm gonna definitely grab a couple myself. I'll do the audio books. So, are you on audio books?
Oh, no doubt.
Okay.
No doubt.
Okay.
I'll send you an audio for the unspoken. You'll like it.
All right. And thank you so much for joining me on Worth the Conversation, Dr. Ian Smith, ladies and gentlemen. And I always give my fans and my followers and supporters a message before I leave and before we wrap. And today I'll say that, you know, mindset. If you want to become a better person, there's books, there's podcasts, there's information. There's information, there's things that you can actually go out here, read and study and research to become a better person. But when you see somebody that takes their passion to make you a better person, just pass that gift along. Because if I can say anything, you know, I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life. I feel like mentally I'm in the best place I ever been because I wanted to work on me. So my message today is out there. Just work on you. So check out my guy's book, Dr. Ian Smith. Thank you again, brother. And it was a pleasure, man. And tell Mike he got me too. I didn't know.
Much love. I let him know. Much love.
For sure. Appreciate you, brother. Be safe out there.
All right.
All right.